All right, we have the few, the proud, those who have come back after lunch. Having said that, we of course are going to start off with, a bang. So we're going to start off with Matt Parker, showing some really cool stuff in terms of what they've been doing in the Arctic and other places. And so with that, I'm saying, Matt, take it away.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Woo, waking up after lunch is hard to do. I first want to start off by saying thank you to all of my Alaskan friends. This January marked the 10th year that I've been coming up here and flying. And I've had the privilege to fly in places like Dead Horse, Kotzebue, Barrow, Wainwright. I even flew a bocow out to Little Diomede at one point. I love this state. I brought my family up here. We've been to the Iditarod. We've done many Alaskan things. And the warmth that we feel from our Alaskan friends up here is beautiful. If I could get my wife to move here, we'd live here. But she's loving Oregon right now. So, with that said, our company we're a small little company and we do niche things. We've flown many different UAVs globally. We started out flying for DOD and other government agencies. And then about 5 years ago, I started my pivot into commercial realm. And so what we're going to talk about today is flying in a maritime environment and also flying in a polar environment. And for us, we've experienced it. We started out, we cut our teeth in DOD. We cut our teeth flying for the Navy, off of their vessels. And we learned a lot of lessons there. It's always good to start in that very regimented, strict environment that most of us come from. And it helps you really evaluate what you're going to do, keeps that safety level high so that you can truly do good things. So what we've done since flying for the Navy and flying for the DOD is figure out how to do it commercially where it makes sense. We can all agree that the costs and processes that we put in to work for DOD don't transition directly commercially. It's a different funding level, different mechanisms to get to that funding. And so what you're going to see today is one of our commercial platforms flying in different environments. And so since I started out in DOD, the first thing we'll show is DOD. So this video that we're going to show you is from our friends in Virginia Beach. We've got a good customer out there, and we've been flying other things for them for a long time. And they saw what we were flying commercially, and they said, "Matt, we want that." I said, "Let's go fly." So we went out and did some maritime trials. What you're going to see is this aircraft is flying off the back of a support craft. This vessel exists to pick up toys out of the water. It has railings all the way around the edges, a big crane on the back. And I could tell my aircraft that it had a 1 meter box to land in. Everything that you see on here is completely autonomous. Nobody's on any sticks. We're coming in. The ship's going to be underway. We were doing it at 9 knots. We were doing it at 12 knots. We were doing it at varying seas. And so this will be just a very short representation of that. You're going to see us launch from the boat, transition, fly over land, go and land on the land, take back off from the land, transition, and go back and land on the boat. So we showed the navies, we could do ship to ship, we could do ship to shore, we could do shore to ship, and you could land these things on the move, back on a moving boat, you could send them back to a stationary point on land, etc. So, please. The dramatic music was provided by the Navy. So when you're telling the aircraft to go land at a new location, and you can tell her how to land and how tight she is or how wide an area is. This one, we wanted to get her within 4 inches of a certain spot. And so she's going to take her way and working her way down because that's how close we were to the tolerance that we gave her. If we gave her a larger tolerance, she would come down faster. You can see from the clouds and the wind, you can figure out what's going on there. These aren't pristine conditions. They're not terrible. So currently the aircraft is matching the roll of the deck of the boat as it's coming down. Again, this is a 1 meter box that it can fit into. You're going to see there's railings again. You can see the crane and other things. It's completely autonomous. So that is not easy to do. But that is what gives us the confidence to go forward and perform these missions commercially. If I have an aircraft that I'm not so sure about, and I have a high risk that I could lose my aircraft, that price point I'm going to have to deliver to my customer on the other end is quite a bit greater. So anything I can do to reduce that risk is what I'm going to do. And so we've taken, again, this technology, transitioned it from military type work, and we put it into the commercial sector. And so what we're going to get ready to show now is some work that we did this year in the Beaufort and Chukchi Seas. And so some of the speakers earlier talked about, wouldn't it be cool if you could navigate a boat through the ice? It turns out it's a really cool thing to do, and you can save a lot of money, you can save a lot of time. So what you're going to see here is us flying off of an icebreaker. Now this icebreaker was going up to do some work up in the Arctic. They had a bunch of other boats with them. They were working together. And if you're going to fly, if you're going to be on an icebreaker in the Arctic and you actually want to break ice, that's a whole different cost, right? More permits, it's more expensive. So if they can not have to use those permits, and they don't have to break ice, and we can navigate them around the ice with not have them breaking it up, it makes the enviros really happy, it saves everybody a lot of money. Not only were we able to navigate them through the ice and not have to break ice, but we were able to save the boat's crew about 2 weeks worth of time. Now when you're out of those big vessels on the ice, that's a lot of money. So you can bet that our services were paid for within a few days of their lost time, or of the advantage time that they gained from coming back sooner. So we're going to show a quick video of our Arctic mission this summer. Playing the pre-chorus here. Yeah. You have to pause that.
Yeah.
And then open it. Now going from a 1 meter box to something you can land an S-92 in, you know, it's quite nice. Now some of the benefits of the ice, immediately the ship's captain thought of is we were originally just kind of routing and seeing what the different breaks in the ice were and where we could go. But then it became apparent when we figured out that we could go 100 kilometers away, that we could go and check on the work site that they were going to work at, and then we could they could adjust where they were going to go based on what the ice was doing, so you wouldn't get somewhere and get lost. Now a few times the boats did get stuck in place and we were able to launch, find them a way out again and save them more time and money. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about considerations for the different places, right? For those of you that were here last year, you would have seen us fly a similar mission to this out in Cocos Island, in 300 miles off the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. And that mission was a lot of fun, but certainly is a lot different risk factors than going up and going 100 miles above Alaska in the ice. What are the things that your aircraft is going to do differently? Now, luckily, the magnetic poles kind of shifted enough that it really didn't affect us as much as we thought it might, being that your aircraft is not only using its GPS, but it's also using a magnetometer, potentially, depending on which aircraft you're going to be flying. And any of us that have flown knows what happens when you get close to the polar regions, when you start to turn your aircraft with that magnetometer, challenges that it can face. But we were lucky that that was not a challenge for us. Some of the other benefits that we had is on this aircraft, the one that we chose to do this mission, by some of the other aircraft we own, was we chose to do it with this one because our engine lives inside the aircraft. It's kind of happy in there. And we can regulate the temperature of that aircraft, of the engine bay, by opening different flaps on the aircraft itself. And we're not exposing a carburetor into the elements and things like that. So We were successful. We were able to fly. We flew about 20 hours in the time that we were up there was all it took. And no incidents, no accidents, just all goodness. And so we're very excited that that mission happened this summer. We look forward to doing more. After we left the Arctic, we took that same aircraft, transitioned it to a tuna sanger. And we brought that out into the Pacific. Now, those of you that know me know that I have a special place in my heart for doing conservation work. And so I've chased poachers around Cocos Island, Costa Rica, Tanzania, Kenya. It's just fun for me, right? Being a DOD guy, I've been being told who the bad guy is my whole life. It's kind of fun. You get to pick your own bad guys, and it's pretty obvious. You have to face off a rhino, you're a bad dude. So, to be that guy that I've been chasing, I've also gone after shark finners, I've taken people's boats. I mean, we've done all kinds of fun stuff in the name of conservation. So to go from being the conservation guy, now I'm providing an aircraft to a tuna fleet to find their fish, was a little tough step for me. But what helped was I immediately realized that there's been trying to be certification of these fish, that they were caught fair, that they're not doing transfers at sea. And I've been involved with a lot of programs that have spent lots of money gathering data from satellites and many other things to try and get this data. What are they doing out there? And now, I'm being paid by the guys that are there to be there. So I don't have to have the satellites and the crazy long-range aircraft to go out in the pelagic zones because I'm going to be on the fishing boats. So I'm able to give that information to both places, and believe me, the guys that are in business for real, they have every incentive to do it right and to report that they're doing it right, so they can have MSC certified tuna and they can have the feel-good stuff in the stores. So when we were out flying for tuna off a tuna sanger, we learned a lot in that maritime environment as well. Some mornings you would wake up and there'd be 15 boats around you. Some mornings you'd wake up and there'd be nobody around. And certainly the maritime law and the maritime environment just becomes really interesting. And so quickly the helicopters started figuring out that that little thing that looked like a bird on their bird radar but just kind of, you know, stayed in a similar area, that was us. And that we were finding a lot of fish. And so as soon as we started finding fish, all of a sudden you got all these 500s flying around, you know, and they're trying to get the fish. And so it was a very interesting experience, but it showed me again that we can increase the efficiency of which they're doing. So we're going to reduce carbon footprint by those boats not being out so long, and we're going to be able to get the job done faster, more effectively, and we'll be able to report. It'll be highly reportable because we'll have all the data back to guys like Noah and anybody else that's interested in what's going out in the seas. So that same aircraft just came back from the Solomons, where we were doing tuna fishing. We've reset the aircraft. Now they want us to go back out tuna fishing in December, and we probably will. But we're also headed down to Antarctica with our helicopters and some of our other unmanned aircraft this winter. And so it'll mark a very good year for us. We'll have flown in a maritime environment commercially in the Pacific, out off Cocos, off of Solomon Islands, up in the Arctic Circle, and then down in Antarctica. All in a 12-month span, all commercially done, no government funding involved, just men and women working together to get the job done. So with that, I'll turn it over to any questions that any of you may have. Crickets.
Can I come on a trip?
Do I come on the trip? Yeah, absolutely, come with us anytime. I'll open that invite to anybody here. We're right outside of Portland, Oregon. We have our own airport, got airplanes and helicopters and UAVs out there. We're often flying, we fly daily, at least the airplanes and the helicopters, and most of our UAS should be out in the country working, because if they're in my hangar, they're not making money.
How would you handle, how many platforms can an operator fly at once and say, helping the flying team do the marine monitoring of the National Marine Monument out there?
So the question is how many aircraft can one operator manage? Thanks, JC, for that question. We're moving away from your traditional thought of a GCS. When you're flying as many different aircraft as we're flying, you've got to be trained on 6 different ground control stations, as one guy, and you might be out for 6 months on this one, and 6 months on that one. It's a lot of flipping around. So we started moving into using mission management tools, JC. And the mission management tool can monitor the aircraft and alert you and let the aircraft go out and work on their own. Now, we've currently been doing this with 2, 3, and 4 aircraft from our ground station, but there's no limitation to how many. The same radios that we're using with our aircraft bouncing off of each other. In other areas, I've had over 20 men on the ground, plus a few other vehicles on the ground, and my aircraft, and we're all talking to each other on the same network. So it could be the same thing with aircraft. They could all just be working together in the existing framework now of the technology that exists now. So the answer would be as many aircraft as your radios will allow you to link together would be the only shortcoming there. And they would obviously alert you when they begin to fail, and then you can choose what you're going to do for an emergency procedure. You just have another guy in the box. He takes the sick aircraft and brings them home if they get sick.
So last year you had a great one about operating in national airspace. I'm just curious if you got some positives about how many more operations you got to do this year in national airspace as opposed to the last years. We know all the troubles will happen, but is there any good stories about them?
Yeah. I think there are good stories, and the good stories lie within those that have started businesses in the last couple of years that are flying the multi-rotors that otherwise would not have been able to enter the marketplace. You know, it used to be a pretty high barrier of entry. You had to spend millions of dollars, and you had to be able to hook up with a university, another public agency to be able to fly. You had to sponsor your COAs, you had to lease them your air. I mean, it was just a whole rigmarole to get to flying. And so I think the regulations as they've laid out have really given opportunity for other companies to get in and start doing the work, whether they're doing, you know, tower inspections or real estate photos, or, you know, everybody's a mapping guy now, right? Everybody's got a Pix 4D account, a quad rotor, you're a drone god. So I think that those markets are good for us. It's going to expand the marketplace. Now, for guys like me, the regulations haven't really done anything necessarily yet. I have yet to fly a UAV within visual line of sight. To me, it doesn't make sense. If I can see my aircraft, I can see what I need to take a picture of. I can save you a whole lot of money just by walking over and taking a picture and sending it back to you. So I think that you know, there's still a little ways to go, and I'm a firm believer that this is not unobtainium. This is not crazy. If you can look at the existing regulations that are in place now, the existing tools that are in place now, I can't tell you how many days of the week that there's a new post on a forum somewhere, first time ever in the world, we can track your aircraft, and I can track your flight hours, and I can track your maintenance. Well, it's called electronic flight bag. Those of us who have been flying, you know, manned aircraft forever, you kind of have all that stuff. It's a given thing. So there's that interesting back and forth between an education base for those that are excited about this new industry that's coming, and I think that they just should probably go talk to their 135 operators that are flying around them and kind of really understand the tools of the trade that already exist today. So that's a long way around to answer that question. Yes, sir.
Can you say something about what you do to harden your aircraft for Arctic operations, in particular icy preparation?
Certainly. There was no other preparation other than the way the aircraft exists anywhere else. I think that as aviators, we all know what icing conditions are, and you're either going to fly into it or you're not. And so, if you're doing your proper, analysis before you fly, doing good risk mitigation, you're not going to run into icing. So, this aircraft doesn't have boots on it, or it doesn't have a weeping wing, or any of that. What we do have are aviators flying. So, but there wasn't anything that we had to do differently to be successful in the Arctic as we were.
Yes, I've got a question on the scientific side. So you were working with the icebreakers going out in front and mapping the ice?
Not mapping.
Or viewing the ice?
We were in real time.
Were you able to do the same mission over the same area and look at change? So what was your precision to be able to do, like, show that ice has increased or decreased or was broken up? Were you able to do that with your optical data?
You could, and if that's what our mission was. You know, you could go up there and you could do there's been a really funny turn where a lot of guys are trying to apply ISR, what we do, and they were trying to do ISR via mapping, which is like, I don't know, going 50 years ago and figuring out how we used to collect intelligence, you know. And so there are ways to do it, and there's good change detection and anomalies, and you know, the guys in the crowd don't understand if I said red, fled, you know, and things like that. So there are ways that you can do it, but what we were doing specifically was providing real-time information overlaid on navigational charts to the ship's captain. So as we were going, he'd say, oh, well, this is where we're going, we need to get to here. So we would fly to that given location, and then we would search on the way back and look for areas of ice that were going to be open so that we could get the boat through. And then we would give them, you know, a first path, a secondary and tertiary path to be able to make that mission happen. So rather than going and mapping and then waiting a couple of hours or days and looking at it and trying to do analysis, we just did it in real time. Probably because we're not scientists. Yes, sir.
So Matt, just for the gentleman in the front row, just a question about the number based on one operator. Until Monday, just released a video of 500 off of one PC.
Absolutely, it's amazing. It's just the limitations of what your radios can bounce off of each other.
What did you say, 500?
500 UAVs. If you Google Intel 500
Oh, yeah.
UAS demonstration,
Yeah,
and they did 500
Yep.
off of one PC.
I've seen that, it's great.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's not a ground control station anymore.
No, I know.
Yeah, it's mission management tools, everything. These vehicles are smart enough, you know. If you take the technology that exists today within the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, when it comes to automated recognition, and you put it all together, you could have all these things working together. And the idea of staring, most people try and do this on maritime work by staring at the water all day. You know how long it takes before you start thinking about stuff that might be breaking at home or what your kid did. You know, you're going to wander pretty fast. So letting these vehicles go out and they alert you when they find something and say, hey, I found something, that's the way it should be.
So Matt, we were talking earlier before lunch about the idea of this intelligence community, Title 50. The taxpayers have already paid for a boatload of pattern recognition and activity-based intelligence software, which could be leveraged for our mission.
100%.
What a shame it would be if we were to stand by idly and not find out a way to bring that to our advantage.
We agree. We agree.
So I think collaboratively, this community ought to be thinking about ways that we can approach that community, and I have contacts and will be very willing to play a role in that discussion about how we can approach these people to let them allow us to use that for the benefit to save lives or save money or preserve the environment or attract poachers or whatever it is mission set's doing. It's very amenable. And I think that we can get them to let go of that classified software because there's nothing classified about the algorithms.
I think that, yes, and if you want, I'll put my team with you and we'll ride that thing as far as you want to take it. And we're also doing it currently with the Navy as well, from some of the Navy software. I mean,
And you're right, I want it.
Yeah.
The software's amazing.
it's amazing. We've been categorizing things on the water for decades, you know. And so they can tell you if it's a boat, what kind of boat it is. They can tell you what kind of school of fish it just saw as it went by. I mean, it's amazing what's existing. And so we've got to be able to bridge that. And I agree. And that type of automation is what is going to help all these people be able to do their job a lot more effectively. We're all maritime search guys, right? So we know how airplanes do a maritime search. They fly over here, they go up, they fly over here, they go.
And they fly home.
All by themselves, just one airplane out there. Now imagine I've got 36, I've got a platoon, I'm a Marine, so I'm simple, right? We work in fire teams. You know, we got 3 fire teams per squad, 3 squads per platoon. So put a platoon of aircraft up there, right, at a given altitude, with a given field of view, so that they all have overlap, and they all have different sensors on board. They're picking things up, and you just shift them right, shift them left. We're very close to that.
So, Caleb, I don't know if we're taking action items, but I would be willing to be a center point of contact for a committee that will represent whatever body is that you would want represented to ask that question. Because I think
Yes, sir.
Have you ever used it as a relay?
Yes.
To do what?
Well, all kinds of different things. We've used it, mostly use it for your guys on the ground, right? So I've got a team on the ground and we're trying to give them, they're trying to talk to each other, send information, map packs, things like that back and forth to each other. And we're also translating back to aircraft. But, you know, today, where we're at with it, with the existing technology today and how it exists, that's no longer as hard a thing as it used to be with the new waveforms and such.
Any other questions for Matt?
All right, well, thank you so much. And if you're first time to Alaska, I hope there's no one here that it's their first time. But if you are,